Hey guys, what's going on? So today I'm going to be making a video about infantry troops, but I'm going to be basically splitting this up into 4 videos, and I'll be talking about each troop. So I'm going to start off with infantry. I'm just going to get right into it, just so I don't use a lot of time. So for infantry, basically there's 2 different types of infantry. This is your defense infantry, which is your knight, and this is your axe warrior, which is your offensive infantry. So you can see that's offensive, defensive, defensive, offensive. You get the point, I guess. But you can really see it in their stats, and that's because they'll have different attributes. So these ones have, like, for example, that one has better HP. This one has increased critical strike chance. So when you're using your infantry, you got to take into account what is coming to hit you in your rally and what is like what you're attacking. So if someone has, you know, a castle and it's filled with archers. They built a ton of archers. Don't ask me why. I've seen it in castles. A ton of archers or a ton of cavalry. Okay, so if they have a ton of archers, basically you can use these defensive. They're like in quotes defensive. I mean, you can use them as attack because they have this ability that restrains enemy archers and bowmen. So what this does is it makes the enemy's archers die quicker and like get hit harder. And usually in my experience, whenever I'm defending and somebody uses a counter troop against me, they die first and they don't get any kills because they get outnumbered, and the bonuses are actually really nice. So for defense, it's for archers, which I would highly recommend to make those because a lot of people send archers and siege in their attacks. And then you got your offensive infantry, and for a castle that has a ton of cavalry, you can see this bonus and it says restrains enemy cavalry. So basically the same thing happens with archers. So if a castle has a lot of cavalry, send these offensive infantry. Usually people make the infantry, the level of their castle. I'm castle 28, so I'm making T9 until I can get T10. I really want T10 more because I like to play defensive, and they have a higher defense rate than the offensive troops. And plus, the way I look at it is archers are tougher than cavalry, like tenfold. So for infantry, now a lot of people when they go to attack a castle, I'll just go to a castle real quick and I'll start attacking, and you'll see that it has basically an auto dispatch. And I'll just take a random castle I bookmarked. Okay, so if I'm going to attack him, you see how it auto selects all this infantry and these cavalry? So if I had like 40,000 infantry, which now I'm running low because I've been fighting and using them and they've been dying, but basically it fills. You see how none of my siege, like, yes, these short range siege, but none of my cannons, which are your heavy damage dealers, none of those even got selected, like, in this dispatch. So a lot of people will send, like, they'll have a ton of infantry and cavalry, and they'll just send infantry and cavalry in their attacks. And that, like, literally does nothing. It's the worst thing to do. All of your infantry just get killed in one shot. I've seen many people put into a rally, like, they send like a 50,000 dispatch, half infantry, half cavalry, and it's like 25,000 infantry and like 11,000 die in one hit for them. Like the way I use infantry, I lose maybe like 1,000 at a time because I layer my troops, and basically you can see in my formation here that my default for using infantry is 1,000 infantry. I send in a solo attack, and in a rally I send 1,000 infantry, I send 2,000 cavalry, and basically this cavalry is just a backbone for my infantry. So if my infantry all die, I have cavalry to kind of take some of the hit before all these cannons die. And I don't want the cannons to die because they're my biggest damage dealers. Excuse me. So where was I? Okay, so cavalry, the only reason why I put a little bit of cavalry in is because, like I said, it's a backbone, and you don't want to be using just infantry because more will die, and you'll be using up all your infantry before you know it, and you won't be able to do as many attacks as you could if, like, you sent like 10,000 in one go. Like, maybe like 5,000 of them would die, and like doing it my way, I kind of like conserve my infantry. Like at the start of a kill event or something or anything, like I would have maybe like 20,000 infantry, and by the end of it, like I would have none because I just like conserved and used them all right. And in rallies, like depends on the size of the enemy. If I put more infantry, like if it's like 50,000 troops in a castle, I'll put like 1,000 infantry and then the 2,000 cavalry, like the default. If it's like 70,000, kind of the same. If it's like 100,000, then it's like I'm putting a little bit more infantry. And if it's above 100,000, I don't really hit that because I know I'll probably lose. Um, Even though I can have a 150,000 dispatch in a defense, like you have a really huge advantage over the enemy, because if someone attacks you and the other person wins, like in a defense battle, you get permanent losses, which is really bad. Like you don't want, like he'll get wounded and he'll be able to heal all his troops, but you'll lose all your troops. So it's like there's no point in attacking a huge castle as a solo unless you have this skill right here, which is called Urgent Care, and basically you can do a solo attack and have them all wounded instead of losses. But anyway, that's just like a little bit of insight behind the fighting and stuff. The buffs, pay attention to these buffs. Look at your stats. Like, just think about it. It's not rocket science. Like, you just have to put some thought into it. Like, these ones I would use for defense because, you know, they have higher defense than the spearmen, so I would keep them in my castle. And actually, infantry get kills in a defensive battle, which is pretty cool. But that's about it. I'm playing in K92, by the way. But we just had our kingdom versus kingdom, and we won. And basically, I ran out of infantry from it. So, because I placed third, we were against K76. Anyway, I'm getting really off topic about the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll be releasing the other parts fairly soon. See you guys.